Okay guys, hello, happy Wednesday. Today we are going to be looking at lesson 1.4 in your notes, and we're going to keep solving equations. This time we're going to go to the last step, which is solving with variables on both sides. So up until now, we've just had like 10 minus 5x equals 25, right? And we've only had variables on one side of the equal sign. We haven't had variables on both sides. There's only been letters on one side. So today we're going to be looking at how to solve an equation if you have the variables on both sides. So if you have some x's over here and some x's on this side. We're going to just go with the instructions that we've always been using, which is just to get the x by itself. The only difference now is that we have an x on one side and then an x on the other side as well. So we're going to have to do some moving around to get all of the x's on one side. So here's what I would say. My tip is to move the x's or the variables to the side that is most empty. Okay? So what you're going to want to do when I say that, what I mean is we have to get the x's on one side. So what I want you to do is on this one, this is the side that's the least empty. It has the least amount on it, because over here you have this number and this variable. So what I want you to do is we're going to move all the x's to this side. And we just follow our same rules for solving equations that we've done so far anyways. So right here we have this negative 4x, okay, because this minus goes with the 4x. And we had to zero this out over here so we can move it to the other side, just like how we've been doing with solving equations anyways. When we want to move anything to the other side, we have to zero it out on the side it's at and then move it and do the same thing on the other side. So if we want to zero this out, we're going to have to add 4x, because a negative 4x and a positive 4x is going to give us 0. So that's going to give us 0. So we have to add 4x to this side too, just like we did over here. When you have a negative and a positive, you get a negative answer here, a negative 5x, and you still have this 10, okay? So now, switch colors. Now it's just a one-step equation. We have to get this x by itself, so to get that negative 5 off, we're going to divide by a negative 5. That cancels out, and we just get 10 divided by negative 5 equals a negative 2. Okay, let's go to example 6, so we can save room here. Okay, so here's our line, and we see we have a negative 5z here and a positive 5z there. So there's the same amount of numbers and variables on each side, so it really doesn't matter. A lot of times people prefer to have the variables on the left side, just so at the end it can say z equals whatever. Okay? So let's go ahead and make that our what we want to do. So here we're going to move this guy to this side so we can have our variables over here. Okay? We're going to give our variables here and our numbers over here. That's our goal on this problem, because the sides are both like equal with the amount of numbers and variables they have. So we're going to have to subtract 5z here so we can zero that out, and we have to do that over here as well. When we do that, we get a negative 10z. I put a line through my z's because I put a line through my z's because sometimes it looks like a 2, and I don't want you to think this is a negative 102. It's a negative 10z. So we have now this 7 is still here. 7 minus 10z equals 17. Okay, so now we need to take this 7. We want to move him to the number side. To do that, we're going to have to subtract 7 to zero him out. And then we get 10 on this side. And we still have that negative 10z over here. So now we're left with negative 10z equals 10. So we're just going to divide the negative 10 off. And we get z equals negative 1. Now, just like in any equation, you can go back and check to see if you got it right by plugging in a negative 1 every time you see a z into your calculator. You can just do 7. Let me show you. I'm just going to plug in a negative 1. I'm going to plug in a negative 1 every time I have a z in my problem. So 7 minus 5 times negative 1 is going to give me a 12. Okay? And then over here we have 17 plus 5 times negative 1 is also going to give me a 12. So they both equal. It checks out. Just want to show you that how that you could check it. All right. Let's go down to number 4. Number 4 at the bottom. All right, so this kind of combines everything we've been doing so far. We have some distribution, because look here, I see some parentheses on both sides. So let's go ahead and distribute both sides. 3 times 3x is going to give us a 9x. And a 3 times a negative 4 is going to give us a negative 12 equals. All right, we have a little fraction guy here. We have to multiply by each of these things. So you can get your calculator and you can say 1/4 times 32, and that is an 8. You can't forget the x here, okay? It's 8x plus, and then 1/4 times 56. That's what this would be. And that's 14. All right, so now we can solve it. We want to move all of our variables to one side. I like to move the x's over here if they're equal, and then the numbers over here. All right, so now I want to move this 8x to the other side. We're going to subtract 8x. We're going to end up with 1x minus 12. That just comes down. And then over here we had a 0, but we can't forget about this 14. So now we have a 1x minus 12 equals 14. So we need to move this number to this side so we can get the x by itself. So to do that, we're going to add 12 to both sides. And we get x equals 26. All right. So x equals 26. That one was a little bit tricky. Let's do this one over here. Okay, we have some, well, you have to step back and kind of look at your problem. We have 5q and 6 here, so we have variables and numbers over here. We have 2q minus 2 plus q. Well, since this guy and this guy are in the same family, they're both q's, and they're on the same side of the equal sign, we can combine the like terms. We cannot jump across the equal sign and combine with this guy yet, okay? But since they're on the same side, we can. So we have a 2q and a 1q. We're going to say that makes 3q. And then this minus 2 stays. 5q plus 6. Okay? So now we want to try to get our q's on one side and our numbers on the other, I like to put letters over here and numbers over here if it's equal. So I'm going to move my 3q over first. Before I can solve, my 3q has to be moved over first. And that's going to leave us with 2q plus 6, I bring that down, equals negative 2. Okay, I still have that negative 2 in there. So now we have 2q plus 6 equals negative 2. So now our only thing left to do is to get this 6 to the other side so that we can clear out the numbers from the variable side, the q side. So we're left with 2q equals, and then this is going to be a negative 8. And then we're going to divide by 2. And we are left with q equals 8 divided by, negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Alright, so now let's look at the back. On the back, we're going to do this problem right here for a warm-up. If you want to kind of look ahead, it's just like this, the one we just did with a fraction on the front. We're also going to do this one for a warm-up in class tomorrow. If you need to go back and watch this again to make sure you're good with it, let me know if you have any questions. You can text me on Remind, or you can send me an email. That's fine too. But that's it.